This is the future of business coaching. Our moderator is Daryl W. Gurney. He's an executive coach and a career coach. He's also an author, a speaker, a licensed spiritual counselor. He's also the founder of CareerGuide.com and theback40.com. Welcome back, Daryl.
Thank you, Gene.
I'm interested in your theme number 10 here. What specific companies are the best examples of the future of business coaching, and what makes them the best models? Tell us what you were looking for here.
Well, in our previous theme 9, a late in the theme interaction that came up between a couple of our experts really piqued my interest, because what they were looking at was how certain environments had lots of different pieces that made it a perfect environment for coaching to thrive. The specific example that they were talking about was Toyota. Well, and I thought, what are the other examples out there? Where have our experts worked that would, they could show how all the pieces make those particular environments perfect for the future of business coaching as well? That's what I was looking for.
What a great conversation. Tell us about the panelists that you had this conversation with.
Well, the panelists just continue to be an awesome group of varied experts from different aspects of coaching, different aspects of the world, lots of them working the top levels of management. And so it's always fun to throw something out with all of their varied experience and see how they mix it all up.
Great. So I'm curious about your executive summary here as you get into the best practices models, which is kind of interesting. And you alluded to some of that earlier, but walk us through this slide here.
Well, what I did get was 2 examples. And what was interesting is that these 2 examples are on various ends of the spectrum in terms of coaching and in terms of, one of them is, really from back in the 50s, Toyota. One of them is one of the most current high-tech leaders, which is Google. And so that's kind of where I came up with my little bullet points there. Something old, Toyota, something new, something conventional, and something goo.
All right. Well, let's jump into your key point number 1 here, which talks a lot about culture, which is interesting because you bring up Japan. There you have a culture of a society versus a culture of a company. So walk us through this slide.
Patrick was basically reiterating that Toyota is a really good example because of that culture. That's a very system and group oriented environment. He was also pointing out, though, that in different parts of the world, there's different cultural influences that make those environments lean a particular way. And then Lena was the one who really brought in Google as being on the other end of the spectrum, and Google and the environment in which they operate. She pointed out an article which really went into detail about how Google uses data and how they are so able to hone in on what coaching works and what managers work. And they create an environment where managers are rated, and it just causes a push towards more and more of a coaching-related environment in which coaching can thrive.
That's interesting. So when you get into key point number 2, you have this sort of comparison between convention versus high tech. Now, did the group see a difference to them?
The main person to point that out was Don, and pointing out the difference between conventional businesses that deal with typical products and services versus what he calls supercharged digital equity investment companies, where he says that there's high-tech proprietary advantages and things like that. And he's just drawing a real distinction between those 2 worlds. And what Don has always been a critic of is the environments that are all about self-expression, feel-good kind of environment. And what he was basically saying is that the kind of environment you'll find at a Google, he says that doesn't really pertain as much to these more conventional businesses that really going to be much more focused on metrics, and they're just dealing with a different world in terms of hard products versus the high-tech side of things. And what Brendan brought out there is that when you've got a high-tech company like Google, they've got the benefit of using big data for immediate feedback to impact the value of coaching in their organization. Whereas perhaps when you've got a ton of money and you can put it towards gathering that data, coaching can get a shorter feedback loop to making it valuable within the organization.
That sounds great. Sounds like a great conversation with a lot of great panelists. Tell us about these three experts that stood out.
Well, of course, you got Patrick and Don. I think they maybe swap places for first and second every couple weeks because they're kind of jumping in right off the bat. David always shows up as well. Who's pitching in earliest? Because those are the key points that I'm going to put up after the first week. But everybody's very valuable. I just encourage anyone hearing this that's intrigued by these ideas to really go dig in and read the full interaction.
That was great. Hey, thanks for walking us through these slides, Daryl. Great job.
Thank you, Gene.
Daryl W. Gurney. He's an executive coach, a career coach, an author, a speaker, a licensed spiritual counselor. He's also the founder of CareerGuy.com and the Back40.com. And Daryl, we will talk again.
Sounds great, Gene.